Here we're going to take a look at the PDC profit maximization example in Chapter 4 of our book. In this example, we're told that we're building a condo complex with 3 decision alternatives. We can either build a small complex with 30 units, that's represented with D1. D2 is a medium-sized complex with 60 units, and D3 is a large complex with 90 units. From there, we're given 2 states of nature. State of nature S1 represents a strong demand for the condos, and S2 represents a weak demand for the condos. We're given some payoff values here based on the decision alternatives and the corresponding state of nature. So now our task first is to look at the optimistic approach. The optimistic approach, we simply want to take a look at the best case scenarios or the maximum profit for each decision alternative. Okay? So here we're going to enter equals max for maximum of the 2 values to the left. So decision alternative 1 with a strong demand and a weak demand. We want to do the same thing for decision alternatives 2 and 3, so we can go ahead and just copy this formula down. Then, as we said with the optimistic approach, we want to take the maximum of these 3 max values. So in our choice column, we're going to use an if statement. So equals if this value here on our left equals the max value of the 3 of these, we want that to be an absolute cell reference so that we can just copy this formula down. So if the one on our left is the max of the 3, then we want to see best. If not, we want to just leave the cell blank. Okay. We can see perhaps this isn't the best choice because it was left blank. So if we copy this down, we can see that our maximum profit that we could get here was $20 million, and that would be with a decision alternative 3, so a large complex, and state of nature 1, S1. Okay, $20 million is our best case scenario. So then we move over to the conservative approach. With the conservative approach, we want to take the minimum of these 2 states of nature, the payoffs for the state of nature and the decision alternative. We want to take the minimum of those 2 and then the maximum of our 3 minimums. So first, like I said, we want the minimum of the 2 possible payoffs. Go ahead and copy that down. And then our choice here is the maximum of these 3 minimums. So again, we'll enter an if statement. Equals if the one on our left equals the maximum of the 3. Again, make that an absolute cell reference. Then we want to see the word best. If not, we'd like to leave it blank. So here we can see that the maximum of the minimums is $7 million. That's our best choice. Now our third scenario here, we're going to use Minimax Regret. So now we take and we have to do a little bit of math here. What we want to do here is look at the maximum regret. So what could we be missing out on? So for each decision alternative in state of nature, now we have to do one more step. So we want to take and we want to look at the maximum value for state of nature 1 or a strong demand and subtract the value that we're given from the maximum. So for instance, right here in this cell, we're going to end up with 20, our maximum, minus 8 or 12. But we want to enter that as a formula. So equals the maximum of these 3, again, absolute cell reference, less the cell that we're dealing with, or less the value we have for that particular decision alternative and state of nature. that needs to be a relative cell reference so that we can carry it forward. So copy that down. And we can see here for decision alternative 3, 20 minus 20 is going to return 0. Right? So then we want to do the same thing for S2, our second state of nature. So again, equals the maximum of these 3 absolute less that scenario. Oops. Watch your parentheses. Then our next step is to take the maximum of the 2 values for each decision alternative. So equals max of the 2 on my left. Again, the maximum of 12 and 0 is 12. Max out of 6 and 2 is 6, so forth. So now again for our choice, we want an if-then statement. With the Minimax Regret, we now want the minimum value of these 3 maximum values. So again, an if statement equals if the 1 on my left equals the minimum of the 3 on my left, then we want to see best. If not, I don't want anything there. So again, just looking at this, we only have 3 options. When I drag this formula down, we can expect to see the word best by 6 because 6 is our minimum. Okay, so again, if we look back over here, 6 corresponds to state of or decision alternative D2, a medium complex, with state of nature 1, a strong demand. So again, in this example, it's an example from chapter 4 in our text. We looked at the optimistic approach, the conservative approach, and the Minimax Regret approach to perform decision analysis without probabilities and maximize our profits.